Hello everybody, I am Rocco, and I will be reading The Wild Robot Escapes, chapters 12 through 17. Chapter 12, The Homesick Robot. We all feel homesick at one time or another. Even the robot felt something like homesickness. Roz belonged with her son and her friends on her island. She was determined to find her way back there. But how? If the robot was seen doing anything unusual, Mr. Sharif might have had her destroyed. Roz had to be careful, so she calmly went about her farm work, day in and day out. But all the while, the homesick robot was secretly planning her escape. Chapter 13, The Electronic Signal. Beep, 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 beep. A message was flashing on Roz's computer. The drone was reporting that gusty winds had sent it spiraling into the neighbor's bean field. So the robot grabbed the big heavy toolbox and marched out to clean up the mess. Roz found the flying machine upside down with its landing gear poking above the rows of leafy plants. It had some scrapes and scratches, but no major damage. She flipped it over, brushed it off, and tightened a few screws. Then she said, "Return to Hilltop Farm." The engine started buzzing, and the machine lifted off the ground and flew home. As Roz marched back, she cut through a strip of forest that separated the two farms. There were trees and ferns and rocks and shrubs and small forest animals. It was a little piece of wilderness. And suddenly, the robot was thinking of that wild island she missed so much. Someday, she would try to run away and return to her true home. Was this the moment for her escape? Could it be as easy as sneaking off through these trees? No, it couldn't be that easy. Ahead on the other side of the trees, Mr. Sharif was sitting in his pickup truck watching Roz. Because of the robot's electronic signal, he knew she had stepped off the property, and he had raced out there to see what she was up to. Roz marched over to the truck, and Mr. Sharif leaned out his window. He had a serious expression on his face. "Don't ever leave the property without my permission. Understand?" "I understand," said Roz. She understood all right. She understood that she was always being watched. She understood that she was trapped on Hilltop Farm. Chapter 14, The Sad Truth. That night, while everybody else was sleeping, Roz stayed up with her computer and researched sneaky subjects. She looked for diagrams of her own body, and for maps of the area, and for any news that might help her escape. But the robot found nothing. The computer only let her access information about farming. She was cut from the outside world. It was clear that if Roz wanted to escape from her new life, she would need help. But the cows didn't know how to escape, and Mr. Sharif would never let a robot leave. Who would possibly help Roz run away from the farm? Chapter 15, The Children. As time rolled by, Roz saw less and less of Mr. Sharif, but she saw more and more of the children. They were shy at first. The robot might look up from the pasture and see Jad peeking around the corner of the barn, or see Jaya spying from the branches of a tree. But the children were growing bolder. And then one day, Roz marched into the workshop and heard giggling. She walked to a closet in the back, opened the door, and there was Jaya, smiling and trying not to laugh. "I'm hiding from my brother," whispered the girl. "Close the door." The robot closed the door. A minute later, Jad ran in and flushed and out of breath. "Hey, Roz, have you seen Jaya?" The robot just stared. "I know she's in here," said Jad, and he began prowling around the room. He searched under the work table and behind the tool chest and between all the bulky workshop machines. The tool chest had been... Finally, he marched up to Roz and said, "I order you to show me where my sister is hiding." The robot pointed to the closet. Jad smiled mischievously and tiptoed over. Then he flung open the door and screamed, "Found you! No fair!" Jaya whined. "Roz showed you where I was hiding." The girl scowled at the robot. "That wasn't very nice, Roz, but you can make it up to me by playing hide and seek. Count to 100 and then try and find my brother and I, okay?" There was a brief pause. Then the robot said, "Okay." Jay and Jad squealed with delight and scampered out the door as Roz started counting. The robot's sensitive ears listened carefully to the children outside. She heard quick footsteps crunching across the driveway. She heard a giggle and then the sounds of tree branches shaking. She heard a grunt and the sounds of hay bales being shoved aside. When the robot finished counting, it took her exactly 5 seconds to find Jaya up in a tree. It took her another 8 seconds to find Jaya in the hayloft. Wow, Roz is really good at seeking, said Jaya. Sorry, it's just the 5th graders passing through. Sorry, it was just the 5th graders. When the robot finished counting, it took her exactly 5 seconds to find Jaya up in a tree. It took her another 8 seconds to find Jad in the hayloft. Wow, Roz is really good at seeking, said Jad as he picked hay from his hair. Just nodded. Yeah, well, let's just see how good she is at hiding. Roz was even better at hiding. While the children counted, the robot silently slipped away. An hour later, they still hadn't found her. The siblings stood in the driveway defeated. We give up, Roz, shouted Jad. You win, said Jaya. The junk pile beside the barn started moving, and Roz appeared. The robot had been sitting there all along, perfectly camouflaged among the scrap metal and the farm machines. Next time we play, you have to let one of us win, said Jaya to Roz. And the next time they played, Roz did. The robot enjoyed having the children around. They brought a little lightness into her world, as she hoped to bring a little lightness into theirs. Life must have been dark since their mother passed away. However, Roz had another reason for wanting the children around. She needed them. She needed them. Her only chance of ever returning home was if Jaya and Jad could find it in their hearts to help her escape. But this was a delicate situation. If Roz tried too hard, the children might say something to their father. If she didn't try hard enough, she might be stuck on that farm forever. Chapter 16. The Robot's Dream. Cows grazed in the pasture, wind rustled through the tall grass. Clouds. Oh my.
It's raining. Is it?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Can't a student get some privacy, please? Chapter 16. The Robot's Dream. Cows grazed in the pasture, wind rustled through the tall grass. Clouds drifted over the fields, farm machines rumbled and buzzed. Milk flowed into bottles, bottles were packed into boxes, boxes were loaded onto the milk truck. The truck drove away full and returned empty. Children romped around with their dog. A man sat at his desk. A robot dreamed of escape. Chapter 17. The Birds. Hilltop Farm was home to many birds. Swallows were always swooping low over the grass and picking off insects. Crows glided above the countryside, silently searching for furry little meals. The robot was stuck on that farm, but the birds were free to go wherever they pleased. Lucky birds. One day, Roz was standing in the pasture, admiring a hawk as he soared through the sky. When the cows began grazing around her, their slow footsteps crunched in the grass, their teeth chewed and chewed, their tails flicked at flies. All the while, Roz stood there, staring up at the hawk. And then came Lily's soft voice. What are you thinking about, Roz? The robot turned to the cat. I am thinking about Bright Bill, she said. It was not so long ago that I was watching my son soar through the sky. That seems like another lifetime. You must hate your new life, said Annabelle. I can't say that I blame you. Farming looks like such grueling work. Actually, I like farming, said Roz. Somehow it feels right. I had to spend long hours working with machines, tools, crops, and animals, but I miss my old life on the island. Tess had a mouthful of dandelions, but that didn't stop her from speaking. Maybe you should start thinking of this farm as your home. That island is awfully far away. There's a good chance you'll never make it back there. Don't say that, cried Lily. Roz just has to make it home. She needs to be with Bright Bill and her friends. Tess is right, said Roz. I may never ever make it home. If I were a bird like my son, I could fly home all on my own, any time I wanted, but I'm only a robot. Nobody spoke after that. The cows went back to grazing, and Roz went back to admiring the hawk. Her eyes followed the bird as he soared through the sky, free to go wherever he pleased. Now we'll pick up on chapter 18, and bye!